Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a news and rumours video where we're going to cover some of the latest news coming out of Games Workshop and some rumour of some upcoming stuff. There is one major topic that I want to discuss in this video, but there are a few other things that we should get out of the way before we get on with that. So, first off, we have an announcement of Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is an old specialist game which was around during the 90s definitely and into the 2000s, although I think from about 2010 it stopped being supported. I could be wrong on those dates, and it was basically American football meets Warhammer Fantasy. It looked like a lot of fun. I never personally played it, but it did look like fun, and it's getting a revamp via the Specialist Games department. This was a group of people created by Games Workshop after Betrayal at Calth, which went down like an absolute storm, and they will be responsible for bringing back a lot of old games such as Blood Bowl, Battlefleet Gothic, Necromunda, Mordheim, and more. We don't know exactly which games will be coming, but we do know Blood Bowl has been announced with teaser miniatures in images, which is for 2017. I'll put the link in the description to the images so as you can have a look at them. They look pretty good. It looks like it's orcs and humans, at least for the original box, which is fine. I mean, it's not perfect, but it will do. Hopefully, though, it will contain rules for the other factions as well, so if we get a copy of the game, we can play test it without using orcs and humans. I mean, we do have a few human models, but we don't have that many. We'd like to try it with our elven and chaos forces if that's at all possible. Right, now let's move on to a new release which has come out this week. Kieran has already got a copy of it. Is the Chaos Grand Alliance Battle Tome for Age of Sigmar. This battle tome contains basically everything Chaos ever. So it will contain all the Khorne Bloodbound stuff, it contains all the Slaanesh stuff, it contains all the Nurgle stuff. Basically it has everything in it, even the Skaven and the Beastmen are in there and the demons. So you have everything you could ever ask for out of that book. One thing to note from that book that I've been told is that there's been a few changes. So for example, if you're a Beastmen or Skaven player, all of your characters have gone, with the exception of Gracia Thanquol pretty much, and maybe Screech Vermin King. All the named characters have just been relegated to becoming regular characters now. We've seen this happen before with Seraphon, so Chakax the Eternity Warden just became Eternity Warden. He lost his name, he lost anything special about him. Most characters did that, so I think this is maybe a trend we have to get used to with Age of Sigmar, as new armies come out, or old armies get redone and made into the new armies that they want them to be, characters may disappear, and I've got a video coming out where I talked with Kieran, which I recorded last night, where we talked about this possibility, and I got a bit petty in it, I'll be honest. But you'll see that in a few days' time when that comes out. So yeah, Grand Alliance should be good. I think there's a bit more focus on some Tzeentch stuff, although I don't know what miniatures have been redone. I believe it's been mostly a reboxing, so that all the old square-based Chaos miniatures now have round bases for AOS, and that makes complete sense. If the prices hike, then I think people will be rightfully disappointed, but I doubt it somehow. Whether other new miniatures will be coming out for Grand Alliance, we don't know. But hopefully Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Skaven, Beastmen all get a little bit of a look in. Although now that they've had their War Scrolls redone, I wouldn't be rushing to see what comes out. Alongside Grand Alliance is a campaign book called Balance of Power. This pits Chaos against Stormcast against Death, which is Nagash's army, is one of the other 4 factions we have in Age of Sigmar. And this is obviously a really good thing because it means that we're going to get some Death releases, hopefully. We have no idea exactly what will come out. One hint that we could use is the Malignance Spirit Host from the Start Collecting box sets that came out around the Christmas time, around the new year, and that might hint that there is going to be a Malignant dedicated army in future. We can't say either way, but it's something to think about, and hopefully when they do some Death releases, they are nice and shiny and fun, and make Death appealing just as much as Order and Chaos are. I can't say much more on that one though because we just have to wait and see. Is there anything else that we have anything concrete on? There has been news that Games Workshop is going into a new market, sort of like going into like toy shops and things like that. I don't know the exact details, but I'll put a link in the description. You can go and have a look at it for yourself. I can't really describe what I'm trying to explain. It seems as though they're just spreading the influence of 40k and AOS into a different sort of packaging, and like kind of like, remember the like you could buy like a plastic kit of a Spitfire, build it and paint it. It seems like it's a bit like that where all the paint is self-contained. I can't say either way. I'll put a link in the description. You can go and have a look at it for yourself because I'm really struggling to remember how to explain it. Is there anything else? There's nothing else truly concrete. There is whispers that AdMech will be getting a 2.0 codex, whether that is going to be a new section of Adeptus Mechanicus, although I don't know what they do with it, or whether it's just going to be a mega codex that combines Cult Mechanicus with Skitarii. I certainly wouldn't complain about that, because, well, having Skitarii in the current format is a little bit wonky, so I'd be quite happy to see them pushed back together again. I can't see any other way of them doing it, because what else can they do for Mechanicus? I mean, they've got Skitarii, they've got Cult Mechanicus, the Knights have their own codex, but they're not tied to the Mechanicus. The Legio Titanicus are never going to get put into regular 40k. So we'll see. But if I get any more concrete evidence on that down the line, I will let you know, because I am currently running a little AdMech series on the channel with codex analysis. Right, that is you on the news in brief. Now, we have one major article that I want to cover, and that is the announcement / rumour. I don't think it's been officially confirmed yet, but there's been a fair bit of leaked imagery from White Dwarf 105 and from just general image leaks of a 40k campaign set, which is great. It's called Curse of the Wulfen, and the Wulfen is a Space Wolf thing, so we're going to be seeing Space Wolves get another look in, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, they've already been in one. They came out the Stormclaw box set as part of the Sanctus Reach stuff, so are they going to give someone else a look in? I mean, Raven Guard have had a look in, White Scars have had a look in, Blood Angels have had a look in, Wolves have had a look in. Maybe we could have done with someone different, but I think the reason is for picking Space Wolves is not because it's actual Space Wolves, it's Wulfen. And the Wulfen are sort of a very different type of Space Wolf. By the tidbits of things I've read from the translations we've had, I believe this is the 13th company, the lost brothers of the Space Wolves who were lost in the war millennia ago. I can't say that with any certainty because we haven't had any confirmation, but the fact that they appear Legion of the Damned style to aid their brothers, or just get into a fight, seems very warp shenanigans like. So I have the feeling that they've got quite an affinity with the warp, and so are probably the 13th company. I can't say other way, but that's my sort of idea on it anyway. Now, the main bit that actually has people talking about this, because it's just the Space Wolves versus Demons campaign book, that's not a problem. Sure, we get some new Wulfen, and I think there are some new miniatures, although people are a little bit umming and ahhing as to whether they're a good thing. Their rules are ridiculously good, but their miniatures are making people question them. But that's a story for another day. What people are really talking about is a little snippet from the German translation of White Dwarf 105. It starts off pretty fine. It talks about how the Wulfen can appear at will and that they come to aid their brothers, but it's not all great because they sort of infect their brothers. The Wulfen, in my mind, are kind of like feral Space Wolves. Like, they're still Space Wolves, they still fight for the Emperor, but their wolfish tendencies have got a little bit the better of them. So they've gone a little bit savage, a bit feral. But maybe I'm not exactly interpreting it right, but apparently this is sort of passed on to Space Wolves that the Wulfen are around, which is why in the lore, Space Wolves who suffered the curse of the Wulfen were banished from the Fang to prevent them from infecting their other battle brothers with it, or something like that anyway. I'm not 100%. It then goes on to, or actually starts with, mentioning something to do with the end times. It is true that the end times draw near. It's a translation from German, so I can't say it's exactly right. I don't speak German, I speak French. But it's got a lot of people talking. I've noticed this. I noticed this before I even realized that this was what was going on, because my last 40k end times video that I did when Fantasy End Times was just coming to an end has been getting a lot of traffic lately, getting a lot of comments about doing it, and it's obviously because the 40k community is now talking about an end time scenario all over again. The only reason we're doing that is because Games Workshop's hinting at it, and that's what White Dwarf 105 appears to be doing. It's restarted the whole 40k end times, in most people's eyes, non-debate. And I probably wouldn't have actually made this video talking about it if I hadn't read or seen articles and videos from people talking about it, because everybody seems to think it's the worst thing that could possibly happen for one reason or another. A lot of people are looking at Age of Sigmar and saying, I don't want my game ending up like Age of Sigmar. I'm not going to jump in and say 40k end times is the right thing to do. It's the greatest idea. I'm going to go on record and start by saying it's not what I would do, but there is a way they can do it and make it work. That's all I'm going to say. And let's explain why. Well, let's see why people are so annoyed first, and then we'll address how they might actually be able to go about it and try and alleviate those concerns. So why are people so bothered about 40k end times? Well, one, the lore will change. Advancing the plot is something that we always want and yet never want, because we love the grimdark the way it is. We love this setting, but we want the story to move forward because we can't just be sat stagnant forever. We're not the Imperium. We want this story to move. We want to see what happens in the 13th Black Crusade. We want to see if the Great War can be assembled. We want to see if such and such a thing can happen because it's all been speculated before. But the problem is, advancing the plot, especially if you follow Abaddon as a success story, leads you to an apocalypse scenario and an end times, which nobody wants. So we want the plot to move, but if the plot moves, there's a chance it'll go where we don't want it to go, and that scares us, so we don't want it to move. It's kind of weird. Second off is the rules, and I think this is why everybody's so bothered. Going through an end times, all we have to follow as a template is fantasy. And while Fantasy's End Times was brilliantly written, its lore is amazing, and the models that came out with it are amazing, and the rules that came along with it are pretty awesome as well. It led to AOS. Now, I personally, and the people I speak to, do not have an issue with AOS. None of our friendship group has a real issue with AOS. I mean, 4 of us play it. One of other us would play it, but is distracted with other projects or just doesn't think they'll be able to get a game because everybody else doesn't like it. The general attitude in the community, as a majority, is anti-Age of Sigmar for various reasons, including cheesy interactions, non-balance for competitive play, ultramarine, space eternal, stormcast marines, all that sort of stuff has put a lot of people off. I understand that, but it's not all bad. So let's try and sort out why are we even talking about an end times being a good thing? If anybody is even talking about it being a good thing. Why? Well, 40k is complicated. 40k's entry barrier in both gameplay and finance is high. You need to really have a fair bit of money behind you to play this game. I mean, assuming you don't buy a starter box and you're just coming in raw, you have to buy a rulebook, a codex, a HQ, and 2 troops to play the game legit. Of course, you can do Unbound, but let's put that to one side. To play the game legit with Battleforged, you need all of that. It's 50 quid for the rulebook, 30 quid for a codex, 10 for your character, and £20 a box minimum for your troops. And that's if you're playing Orcs, and I'm being generous on that one. So you're looking at a minimum spend of £130, which is probably heading toward $160 plus just to get HQ, 2 troops, a codex, and a rulebook. That's the minimum requirement. And particularly if you're a kid who wants to get into the game at, let's say, age 13, 14, you don't have that kind of money. If you're a student like I am, who's just getting into it for the first time, you don't have that kind of money going spare to actually invest unless you've already invested in the hobby in the past like I had. Back when I didn't need a rulebook because I was fortunate enough to get Black Reach, and codexes were £12. Seriously. Codexes have more than doubled in price, and while they probably doubled in production value because of hardback colour stuff, the entry requirement has gone up. Plus, the game is quite complicated. I mean, I can teach 40k to somebody. I did teach 40k to somebody in a battle report that you can go and watch on the channel. But I was only able to do that because we were playing a mirror match. I picked the same list for both players. If I was facing an army that I didn't know because they just started, I was like, oh, I'm playing Cult Mechanicus. I don't know how Cult Mechanicus works. I don't know what your weapons do. I don't know what sort of list you should be running. So how can I teach you? It's very hard unless you're actually playing with someone who's experienced, or you have a group of friends who are all learning together to get the rules. And I mean, yes, you have the internet, which is one of the best ways to start out, but the entry barrier to someone just coming in and looking at it from nothing, particularly if they're not going to Games Workshop very often, is quite high. You do really need to put some time and effort into learning the rules of the game, otherwise the game will just take all day. And while that's not always a bad thing, I think it's just something to think about. So at the moment, they need a way to lower the entry barrier. Maybe not in complexity, like that's debatable, but in price. They need a way to make miniatures or books cheaper, and Age of Sigmar fixed that problem perfectly. The Age of Sigmar app is free, and it contains the rules and all the war scrolls. You don't get all the formations, but you get all the war scrolls, meaning you can literally play the game by just buying the models. And you can play with whatever models you like. So now your minimum entry spend is maybe a hero and one box of stuff. But you've taken 80 quid out of the equation just by taking out the rulebook and codex and then encasing them in this app, which is amazing. And I think that's something that GW should consider, is if you're going to have to streamline the game a lot to make it work, because you've got so many different factions, and the rulebook at the moment is ridiculously long. Even in its condensed state, where it's just the rules, it's still quite expensive. So I think if they are going to go down that route, simplifying the rules and putting them into a nice free format, such as an ebook format or an app, is a really good way to go to try and make it more accessible. One, everybody's on mobile phones these days. Everyone uses mobile technology. I use it all the time. And having it on an app is just what young people want these days, and it really appeals to a younger audience. Yes, the older audience might not get it, but you can just go on the internet and print them off and still play them like an old codex. Or when your army comes around, get its battle tome if you still like the feel of a book in your hand. So the rules, I think, rules-wise, I think it is going to be difficult, but getting 40k more accessible is probably the main reason to follow this scenario through. Right. Let's talk about how they might go about doing it. I think the obvious scenario is the Emperor dies. And they follow that through. They follow Abaddon. The 13th Black Crusade is a success. The Emperor dies. Reset the system. Go again. New setup, new lore, new heroes, new villains. Go. You can still bring the old races in because it's still the same universe. But you've hit the reset button by killing the Emperor. That's the first and most obvious scenario. However, I have a theory that may be able to fix the whole galactic reset problem. I think there is a way where we can keep the lore the same, but it will force us to change the rules in a positive way. And that's the Terminus Decree. For those who don't know or who don't watch 40k theories, the Terminus Decree is a document that is in the possession of the Grey Knight, and it's been recently spotted on Titan, which is where it's normally supposed to be kept, I believe, but it's like not locked in its vault anymore. And the seal upon it has never been broken, and it bears one match. Only one other seal in the galaxy matches the seal of the Terminus Decree, and it's on the Golden Throne, meaning that the Terminus Decree is linked to the Golden Throne in some way. Follow through the name Terminus, and it suggests that this is how you power off the Golden Throne, therefore killing the Emperor. Now, this basically sounds like the Apocalypse Now, but there's a theory that goes along with it, which is that the Emperor is a perpetual, which means that if he dies, he comes back to life. This has never been tested because the risk is just too damn high. Turn off the Golden Throne. If he doesn't come back, you've just killed the Emperor. But if he does, well, we have the Emperor back. And I think that if we follow through the Apocalypse Scenario and then change it at the last minute, so as instead of having Abaddon walks in, completely murders the Emperor, turns and then has one of his lackeys sit on the Golden Throne and sort of reset the galaxy into his own image, let demons in and all that. I think they should use the decree to turn off the Golden Throne at the end. They think it's over, so they turn it off. Rather than let the Emperor fall victim to Abaddon, they turn it off, kill him, and hope he comes back. And yes, I know you could say, well, what if Abaddon kills and he comes back? When you add the Chaos Gods into the mix, I think you could almost end up where they can almost get in his way, make it not a perfect reformation or perfect rebirth. But if you turn it off, the Chaos Gods can't get in the way, the Emperor comes back, you have a new setup without changing anything. So you still have the Imperium backed into a corner with its technology going nowhere, oppressed on all sides from without and within, from Xenos, other humans, chaos, all sorts of things. But now you have the Emperor. And the Emperor, once he's cleaned house a bit, will go on the Great Crusade. Again, he will go and push chaos back. He'll take back Terra. He'll take back the Sol system. He'll take back the next system, and the next system, and the next system. Repeat until the galaxy is conquered. And that allows us to change the game. It reminds me of Age of Sigmar, where Chaos won and pushed the good guys right back, only for them to muster an army, get together, and push back. And that's where AOS is now. We can easily follow that system through, just have the Emperor and the Custodes take the place of Sigmar and the Stormcast Eternals. Because who doesn't want the Custodians back? I want the Custodes back. They've been locked inside on Terra for so long, we've never got to play with them. And if we get that opportunity, I think it will be awesome. However, there's a catch. In the current rules state, the Adeptus Custodes and the Emperor would be busted, ridiculously overpowered, because the rules just cannot contain such powerful individuals. At least not normally anyway. So what it would require, or at least encourage, is a system reboot on the rules side. The lore can then stay the same. You've built it all up. All your old lore is not invalidated. It's still canon. But now you have this new age with the Emperor. And then you can fix the rules so that he can be used in-game. Primarchs becomes another issue. I mean, the Demon Primarchs, seeing that their father is back, are probably going to rush to stop him. And any loyalist Primarchs who are still able to will probably rush in as well. But that creates the whole issue of, oh, my Primarch didn't come back because he's dead. That's not fair. Fair enough. I understand that. But it might maybe create some new Primarchs. Use the old gene seed that has been stockpiled for every legion, which is still a thing, and create new ones for the loyalists. It might not be perfect, but creating a new set of Primarchs might be a good idea. And then you could almost have interrupted the Chaos who are stealing these gene seed vaults to create their own new Primarchs, and you basically have a new race of Primarchs back. And everybody gets them, and you've restarted the whole game, and it's really good. You still have the Xenos in the position they're in. Maybe the Emperor calls in alliances with the Eldar. There's been talk of alliances between Adeptus Mechanicus and Dark Eldar to try and fix the Golden Throne. I cannot confirm that, but I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think that's the scenario I want to see, because it will be very interesting and very unique compared to the Age of Sigmar. Oh, Chaos wins. Chaos doesn't win. We just have the same universe with the same setup, but with a new dynamic to it. That's the only thing that has to change. How you get there, I don't mind. Kill a few dudes off along the way, I don't mind. As long as it's certain individuals don't die. I think you can really make it work. You can easily have these titanic battles still. I think that's another issue people have with AOS, is it doesn't work on large scale. Well, it does, but not amazingly. Certainly not as well as 40k does. And it's skirmish-ish. Like, it works really well at small games, but it works better at mid games. Kind of like what we would consider an old 2,000 to 3,000 point game is a good game of AOS. Any more is a little bit clunky. 40k works far better at bigger games, and they can still keep that feel whilst maybe having an expansion, kind of like Combat Patrol, Battle Force Recon, that applies to small games for skirmishes. So there you go. That is my 2 cents on the whole thing. I think 40k end times is not the best idea. I think there are better things they can do to reinvent the lore, move the plot forward, and fix the rules. But if they want to do it, I don't think it's necessarily a disaster. As long as they avoid the whole fall into the trap that AOS seemingly fell into, where it became very cheesy. If they keep it competitive and stay true to the grimdark, I think it could be a real good thing. But it has to be handled carefully, and I think that's something we're all going to have to wait and see how it pans out, if it pans out at all. Maybe the whole end times theory is just basically useless. It's not actually a thing. It doesn't actually happen. Maybe I've just been talking for 10 minutes about absolutely nothing. We'll see, though. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and leave a comment if you did. And make sure to share this video around. Be very interested to see what everybody has to say about it. And subscribe if you have not. We are heading on the way towards 700 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. And until the next time, see you all again. Bye for now.